Thanks, Amy. And thanks all. Hello. My name again is Stephen Posner, and I work with the Garrison Institute, where I'm director of the Pathways to Planetary Health initiative. And I'm delighted to be here and to be a part of warmly welcoming you all here again. Something beautiful is happening here. Tiokasin Ghost Horse greeted me this way, speaking in Old Lakota one day. It was a welcomed reminder of the beauty in being able to greet one another at all. Tiokasin truly wishes he could be here. And the other day he said, and I quote, "I love Vermont, and I was looking forward to being able to spend time there. I am more than ready in spirit to attend this very important event." At this time, he's teaching remotely from home, so we decided it would be best to record a conversation together for this event. By way of introduction, I'll share a very short story of a question I asked Tiokasin a few years ago. We were both at a Planetary Health symposium held at the Garrison Institute, and I said to him, "We are learning here. What is the source of learning, of knowledge, of wisdom?" And he calmly looked me in the eyes and he said, "Earth." More recently, he elaborated, "We need to stop learning about the earth and start learning from earth." And often his words contain layers of meaning, learning from earth as a teacher or learning from earth as a location here and now, right where we are. He routinely raises consciousness of language and how it conveys meaning and reflects our inner orientation. He also reminds us that for him and Native peoples here in these lands, English is a foreign language. And you'll hear him translating into English as he's speaking. Since we first met, we became friends, and then mentor and mentee. We've taught together in retreats at the Garrison Institute. I regard him as a fellow common man, also a respected elder, and like an uncle. In Spanish, I would call him Tio Tiokasin. And today I'm honored to introduce him and hear again the words that he's given for this event. Tiokasin Ghost Horse is an author, teacher, activist, and accomplished musician. He is a member of the Cheyenne River Lakota Nation of South Dakota. Tiokasin is the founder, host, and executive producer of First Voices Radio, which has been running since 1992. In 2016, he received the nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize from the International Institute of Peace Studies and Global Philosophy. Other recent recognitions include a National Fellowship in Music from the Native Arts and Cultures Foundation and a National Heritage Fellowship with the National Endowment for the Arts. He was also awarded New York City's Peacemaker of the Year in 2013. Tiokasin is a perfectly flawed human being and a sun dancer in the cosmology of the Lakota Nation. Now, these recordings are from a long conversation that we held last week, focused on this event and love of Earth. He has given permission for us to play some clips today, and I would just like to acknowledge that this is non-traditional in Lakota culture to separate audio from the relational context of an exchange. And at the same time, Tiokasin is happy that his voice can reach your hearts despite him not being here, and we're grateful for this opportunity. So we'll hear just a few samples of Tiokasin in his recent voice, and I'll chime in to try to preserve some of the relational context, kind of like interludes on a mixtape. And if you would like, you may close your eyes or leave them open while you listen. First, Tiokasin briefly introduces himself in his first language, Old Lakota.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and just want to say, Chante washte na pe chuse apialo, le unki piki he washtelo. Mitakuya Oyasi, it's I give you my heart in a good way, and I shake my heart with you in conversation. Of course, it's always good to be here, and in all my relations. And so, a lot of these thoughts that I'll give to people, not just share, but give to people, is part of who we are really as human beings.
All my relations includes not only human beings, but Earth and all of the elements, the stars and the cosmos, and all of creation as interconnected and interdependent. Tiokasin went on to describe his indigenous view, which historically has often been excluded. And he shared about when people came here from other countries and they brought with them equipment and laws and religion, but they did not bring with them land.
And so how to treat the land was very different. How to live with the land was very different. And we didn't understand ownership of land. And it may sound like I'm romanticizing, because who has had the power of writing our history thus far? We certainly haven't, because it's been in another language. So when you come among Native people, those more or less traditional, who understand the older way of thinking, not the compromised way of thinking and languages, and now we have dictionaries, it still takes more away from the actual knowing of being native here with your own land. Of course, we can talk about the history of tragedy, and now we feel sorry and sympathy, and now we'll listen, but that's still a very small percentage of what's needed to really know and live with the land, because everything's been conceptual upon the land today. And rather than peace with earth, it has been turned into peace on earth. And it's like a parasitical thinking. So, of course, we don't have words like environmental or nature. Because if you see, this is part of ownership. We are earth, type of mentality, which makes it easier for spiritual digestion. So, are we really earth? And is earth really behaving this way, the way we are treating earth? We say references like, we're going to go sit under a tree, but the tree also gives us those elementals, like air, part of all the elementals. And how's a tree so understanding that it's following its original instruction? But think about, how are we following our original instruction? Are we close to that? Or we've taken our sciences too far? Because if you look at it, it's more of a species aggrandizement. Yeah, aggrandizement. Because we don't have the capacity and gifts of other species living with Earth. So if you look at a wildcat, there's love. And you don't go to the wild. And that's another word we don't have. So you see, it says, is how you speak about the earth versus how you speak from the earth, and not about earth. You're speaking with earth, and not about earth. And and so, or your languages are about something removed a distance, or your language is from Earth. There is that difference, a subtle difference, it seems like. But if you really understand, one language is for distancing. We say heaven is out there, not here. So that plays upon people about how to treat the earth. We really don't belong here, we go someplace else. But why are we here? But that takes the presence of mind, of spirit, and your consciousness needs to be here, and not in the future or the past, but here. Because that keeps us more alive, keeps the spiritual more alive, understanding where you've been, to understanding where you possibly could go, but it's all focused in the present. And I see that happening amongst all peoples now because of the reactions we have finally to what's going on with the earth because of our treatment, the one that loves us so much that there is no comprehension what love is when it comes to earth. Yeah.
So this was an organic conversation. There was no preparing, there was no reading anything. I paused at this point for a breath, and then I asked Tiokasin, when we receive living energy, or we receive life, or we receive love, what does that mean for our responsibility to give as well?
Good question. I like that. And probably I was saving the full explanation of the word Wakan. Wakan. You could say holy or sacred, but it's still not enough because that's only pertaining to human beings when people think about it because of the religion aspect. But Wakan really means consciously applied mystery to everything. And when you're knowing that you will never know the answer, it propels life, because in creation, rather than creator or God, a oneness, we don't know what that means. How big is oneness? Is it our minds or the way we've been trained to think? We can all say it goes on forever. This is the closest English can get. You can say eternal. That means to me, always has been living anyway. So there's no stopping one place and accepting this is a belief system. Because if you put belief into it, you stop your thinking. And there is the idea of why do we believe and then we stay stagnated with that? It's based on hoping that the earth will change, or rather, we're hoping we change rather than following the direction of the mystery, which earth is always with. So we cannot control whether we think about we can. We cannot control natural forces, even in ourselves. In this body, we breathe and then we don't. I find that's a better way to say we are living and then we die. Such tragic, because that's selfishness. So we are breathing and then we're not. So we know energy is everywhere anyway. We can't create it. We think we can or destroy it. We think we can harness it. But what does that take? Not to get too far away from the center. And this is why we fly. And one of the ancestors of the Lakota say the center of the universe is everywhere.
Consciously applied mystery to everything, knowing that you will never know the answer. He also said later, how mystery is one of the greatest gifts humans could be given because we don't understand it, and it keeps compelling us. And we understand this awesome, mysterious presence through intuition and experience. Next, Tiokasin spoke for a few minutes about creation, spirituality, and relationship with Earth.
And now people are not following their religions, which to me is room to pay attention to our creation. And so the energy grows and grows, or we're paying attention to more, but we still wanted to put it into a churchianity. And we're still wanting to believe something is true, which is a kind of a way too, is if you believe something is true, will it become true? But knowing something is true is, I guess, the value of understanding being here now. Because everything is true. To us, it's being a present. So we understanding that I'm speaking English. I'm speaking a present phobic language. We don't want to be here. We want to be in the future. We want things to improve while Earth herself seems to be getting worse. But she's putting up, she's tolerating. And then one day she's going to have enough and she's going to need to correct the situation. And we can keep avoiding that. This is why I think the Earth Charter is very important to really understand what we are saying and what we are living, rather than hoping things will get better. So we look at, is Earth thinking through us? Is Earth feeling through us? Or we think we know what feeling is about, or do we know what Earth is about? So science has come into effect, and it has to take things apart, even affecting or thinking about spirituality, everything else that, the thousands and thousands of religions dispersed, coming up with their own way to live with this part of Earth, land, referring to Earth in your everyday language as mother, Maka'ina. The mother is Ina. It's a sound babies make Ina when they're crying, but it's also understanding the voicing of a continuance. We could say mother. Na is like and forever. So we're voicing eternity through never ending.
This is great. And finally, I asked Tiokasin, is there anything else you'd like to give or to say?
Yes, there is everything else, always. But I want to just be appreciative of you being where you're at, the people listening, and really hearing, not what's through their heart or through their ears, but with all, as every cell of us were listening. Cells, each cell, whether it's being born at the same time we are creating, or it's take its last breath, so to speak, and goes on with the same energy. So all of me, this body, not just my brain or my heart, has listened and has been appreciative of what you all are doing in gathering for Earth. Not a religion or a law, but for Earth. So you're speaking on behalf of Earth, as if you were Earth, are Earth, will be earth. So, Akantu, the earth's being from the ancient future now. And big thank you always for your appreciation and inclusion from a voice that, and voices of Native peoples, that is, I see, which is a good thing of an inclusion now, and not just some dreamy or romantic person from the past, but here aware of what's going on with Earth and ourselves. So the Earth Charter is help that gather the voices of the world. And maybe like the US Constitution, it needs updating. And we think about that one. What compels us, what propels us to continue? And that I'd like to include with a good way, a good feeling that you have given this opportunity for me to speak with all my all being, the Akantu. So, yes, that's what it is. So thank you.
Please join me in expressing gratitude. Thanks.